So here we are here at a spa bath that has been turned into a fish pond. This is something I see very regularly, and it's a really super idea. So if you have a spa bath that you don't use anymore, little what if it's in a picturesque location like this, you get yourself a nice chair, a nice drink holder, and you're absolutely set to sit here and relax and watch your fish. Watching your fish swim around is a very, very relaxing pastime. Now, it's particularly relaxing if your situation is going well. If your situation is not going well and your fish are not thriving, it's not quite as relaxing. So there's a couple of things we recommend. Make sure that you subscribe to our YouTube channel, Majestic Aquariums TV. And if you go to the search bar on that channel and just write pond or any issues around your pond filters, pond lights, green pond, whatever you want to write, there'll be videos teaching you all about it. And today in this video, or this series of videos, I'll step through step by step what's going on with this pond and how we can maximize this situation. So right now this pond is very well populated. The first thing is I will not recommend any more fish go into this pond. Now the other thing to be aware of, particularly with goldfish, when you see these little growths on their heads, that's a herpes virus. So the healthier your fish, the less issue this is going to be. The more unhealthy your fish, the more uncomfortable that would be for the fish. So if you have fish that you find herpes virus in, do not introduce those fish with other fish. You want to make sure that they stay isolated to any other fish because it is contagious, and some of the fish will carry this virus even though they're not actually showing any signs. So that's something to just be aware of and even do a little bit of research on. Now here we are in Sydney at the end of summer, and basically the condition of these fish in general is quite good. Now, if you're going into winter, it's good to have a little bit more weight on the fish. If you're going into summer, then this is the time that they tend to put their weight on. So you want to be very aware of what is a skinny fish and what's a fat fish. Most of these fish are actually holding like a nice amount of weight. They're not thin and they're not fat. So basically, if you look at the gills of the fish, and from the gills, if the body goes in, that's not a good thing. That means they are not being fed enough. But on the other hand, you don't necessarily want to go for the gills and have a big fat belly flaring out, because that will often indicate, depending on the species of fish, but that will often indicate that the fish are actually overweight. So if in doubt, grab your phone, make a little video of the situation, make sure that we can very clearly see all the fish in it. And we want to see any filters and also any bits and pieces you've got for the pond. So if you've got water ager, fish food, KH powder, whatever you've got, let us see that in the video. Otherwise, we'll probably try and sell you stuff that you might already have. Now, the next thing that I want to point out is that the color of the water. Now, because you're going to get an amount of sunlight in a beautiful location like this, then there will always be a battle for nutrients between bacteria and algae. So if you have a significant amount of effective bacteria, your water will actually be nice and crystal clear. If your bacteria is not sufficient to break down the waste from the fish, plus any leaf litter that might end up in the pond, then the excess nutrients is going to make your water green. Now, there's also filters such as UV sterilizers, and they're wonderful for clearing your water. So what a UV sterilizer does is introduce the water to a UVC light. And it is important the UVC light is replaced on a yearly basis so it stays effective. And the UVC light is going to very effectively clear up your water. So the aim is to have plenty of good bacteria. Now, oxygen is one of the biggest factors. So something that breaks the water surface increases your oxygen level, and that increases your redox potential and increases the situation for the good bacteria. Now, if your surface is very flat, then you're not going to get gas exchange. If you don't get gas exchange, what's going to happen is your oxygen level is going to fall, because your fish are going to be producing carbon dioxide, and all the bacteria that grows in the system and the filter is going to be producing carbon dioxide. And if you increase carbon dioxide, you're going to decrease your redox potential, which means decrease how efficient the bacteria can be, and it's going to favor the algae. So what we're trying to do is create an environment that favors the good bacteria, because then we're going to have very healthy, crystal clear water. And that's going to look much better than green soup, which is what you're going to get if you're favoring, if your conditions are favoring the algae over favoring the good bacteria. So once again, this pond is at capacity. So I'm not going to recommend any fish come in or out of this pond. Now, the thing is that you've got to understand biological capacity. Now, biological capacity means Mother Nature says you are allowed a certain amount of fish in this environment. If you exceed Mother Nature's rules, then some of the fish have to die. Now, they may die by one at a time, the odd one popping off, or Mother Nature may send you a disease and wipe half of them out, and that's how she will control the situation. So her rules must be respected. Now, there's various things that we can do that are going to affect the biological capacity of the water. One is the better the filtration, the higher our capacity. The better our oxygen, the higher our capacity. And the more regularly the filter is maintained and the more regularly water changes are done, the higher the capacity. And we also must be very aware of the difference between a water change and a top-up. So if we're topping it up, then that is just a top-up, and that is just to replace water that evaporates. Because you can be very surprised how quickly water evaporates. But at the same time, you do want to be doing water changes, because what's going to happen is over time, various accumulants or things that accumulate in the water will accumulate, and by taking water out and putting fresh water in, then you're defusing down those accumulants, and therefore you're improving the quality of the water. So I'm going to go and do some water tests now, and then I'll walk you through what we do step by step with this pond. And also just be very aware that having leaf litter is going to challenge your capacity as well. So even if every now and then when we're hanging out, if we just scoop out a little bit of this leaf litter, then that's something else that doesn't have to biologically decompose, and that doesn't have to challenge our biological capacity. So every now and then, little scoopy scoop. Now that's something that we no longer have to deal with in the water. And as far as maintenance is concerned, little regular maintenance is always preferable over big maintenance. Having a potentially beautiful feature such as this, so by the time we're finished here and we've implemented some rules around this pond, we'll be able to make this an absolutely beautiful feature. Now, there's one enemy that fish have, and they're called birds. So in a beautiful situation like this, there is almost definitely going to be bird issues. So one very common solution is go and get a whole bunch of horrendous looking wire and put some horrendous looking wire over your beautiful pond containing your beautiful fish. And that is a way of protecting your fish, but it looks horrendous. So something that I see a lot of people do, everything has varying success rate, but I've had very good feedback in general, is a pond guard. Now, a pond guard can be either secured to the fence or secured to something like a Bessa brick, and then you plug it in, and it's got a sensor on it, and you can set it for how far the sensor detects, and you can set it for frequencies. So it's a little bit of experimenting, because it does seem to be different birds are affected by different frequencies, and I've had very good feedback with people putting them in, turning them on, and then finding that they no longer have trouble losing fish from birds. Now, you can just go online and Google pond guard, and that can help to protect your fish. Now, this pond has a lovely arrangement of colours. Most of them are goldfish. Oh, here we go, right on time. Are you come for some lunch, buddy? Nah? Also, with the pond guard, you do want to be careful which way you face it, because, for example, you want to face it in a way that you're not too bothered if the birds get scared away. So me personally, I love birds, and I've got, where I live, I have almost pet kookaburras and magpies and stuff, and they come and visit me and I feed them and I really love them. So you never want to face the pond guard in the direction of where your feathered mates are, because your feathered mates are going to probably not come back. So if you aimed it in a way that, if you aimed it out that way, for example, then if they're over there, they're not bothered because it's very directional. So just bear that in mind.